Hello, beautiful reattached people. I am coming to you with what will certainly be a very casual market update this Wednesday, May 10th, as I have had food poisoning for the last 2 days. So I'm looking very thin, very gaunt, very pale still a little bit, but still working and dealing with what's going on in the real estate market. So I thought we would take an interesting perspective this week and look at pending sales. We've been looking at active stuff, but I think it's sometimes interesting to see what is selling. There's very low inventory, but what's going on with buildings that are selling or at least going under contract and hopefully closing soon, right, for those agents and buyers and sellers who are involved. So there's actually quite a lot pending, 2 pages, whereas the for sale stuff is usually about 1 page these days. So that's interesting. That a lot is kind of jammed up potentially. But let's take a look at what's selling. It's kind of interesting. This is a super weird, interesting building on Washington Street with a lot of units and not a lot of access, pretty low rent roll. But it's an interesting building for sure for multi-unit residential. Again, this one on Liberty Street, multi-unit residential and investment property. Some of these rents are really quite low. If I recall, this basement unit was a little weird. I've also been inside this building. This is one of the reattached listings, actually. This is a cool, again, multi-unit real estate. Again, we're taking it from the priciest, the way that it filters when you bring it up is the priciest stuff to the cheapest. So again, multi-unit real estate. This is a cute house. I love the arrow. Boing, boing, boing. It's this one. Multi-unit, but definitely homeowner suitable. Multi-unit house, live in one, rent the other, keep it as a rental, whatever, up on Washington Heights. Now keep in mind that when you're looking at these are the listing prices. We don't know what it will ultimately sell for. And when sales are pending, as brokers and agents, we don't enter the agreed upon price. So when it's pending, the list price is what we see here. And then when it closes, maybe it's selling higher than that, maybe it's selling lower than that. I thought this was a cool listing on the higher side of multi-units, but in a good location and pretty decent. Clinton Street. Little house on Clinton Street, cute, no thing. A little multi-unit, 2 units, I presume. Again, that same like high 300s price point. I like to look at these because you see what's coming in terms of available comparables. Typically, appraisers will look at the trailing 12 months for when they're assessing, coming up, figuring out what the appraised value of a house is going to be. And so as we're looking at a changing market, it's important to keep up with not just what's for sale and what the prices are, but what's closing. Because you can list the property high, but if it sells lower, then you kind of have to watch what's going to happen in the upcoming year, because houses now will appraise because we have a trailing 12 months that was really strong. But if our trailing 12 is petering out, then as we're looking back from the next year, it can become challenging to get houses to appraise. Again, cool house, love this, 2 or 3 units, right, actually I sort of see it from my house through someone else's yard. Neat, top of the 3s. I thought this was a very fair asking price. I believe it was 3 units for what it is. Multi-unit on 3rd Street, knocking it out. Looks like 2 units listed for $370. Interesting. I somehow doubt that they got this number, but if they did, it's interesting, and it's a really cool spot up by the park, so wouldn't be a totally bad deal if it just needs a light cosmetic renovation. This was a cool house. I liked this house. This one went really fast, listed for $500, $99.99. Like there's like a voodoo sales price in there. faking us out, tricking us into buying it with weird numbers. But again, we're looking, your multi-units are landing mid 300s. This is a fixer-upper multifam that needs quite a bit of work, but also has a lot of really neat historical details. Very cool. A more housey house type of multi-unit on DuPont Avenue. Let's see, 65 North. Which one are we talking about here? Oh, cute little house, also a 2-unit. So we're seeing like multi-units are landing in this 76 Carson in less desirable condition, a 3-unit for $320, right? So our multi-units are scaling their way up through the 300s. And now this is our first single family in the low. Oh, that's a pretty window. Oh, grandma's I love like a good 70s granny house. Oh my gosh, lots of wood paneling to die for. I love it. So you're sort of like a home, this is right across from Rite Aid, this house. So multi-units, a 4-unit listed for $300. Interesting. That seems like a good deal, really. And then here we are with a bunch of like single families. William Street, South William for the top of the 300s, a 2-unit. Okay. Lutheran trading again, 290, top of the 200s, multi-units, maybe potentially a less desirable neighborhood. Man, those cars in front of the buildings on picture day, can't believe it. 67 Courtney, that cool, like funky stone house. There's only a couple houses made from this, it's concrete block, but formed, and I've spoken to a couple people about it. There's only a few of them, and they think it was actually these block forms for concrete designed by Thomas Edison, which is pretty cool. So here we are in the 200s. This is on First Street close to Liberty, and it's a total gut. This was emptied out, and the buyer plans to do a full renovation. Cool house, but a lot of work in the top of the 2s. So that's interesting. And sort of when you add the purchase price plus the renovation cost, you're hoping that you're coming out in good shape, which I think they will be. As like a really nice single family, or sort of like a garden apartment with a triplex above is probably what they're going to do with it. Here are these single families at Washington Place, which is that street above the urban renewal land that overlooks like the ferry, where the ferry goes back and forth from Newburgh and Beacon. For high 2s, a smattering of single families. There was a run on this building. Wow. It was a really, I feel like this was listed quite low and got a lot of action because of that. I will say in general, and I have said this to sellers as well as buyers lately, it's a conversation mostly for sellers, but overlisting right now in this market is kiss of death. Because people are so much more budget conscious. I think in the general concept of money and where it comes from and where it will come from in the future, there's a lot less stability, and there is mindfulness around, hey, you better spend what you make or spend what you can, and your next meal ticket feels a little less stable than it did maybe a couple years ago. For some people, for other people, things have gotten more back to normal, but I think lending has tightened up, and people understand that at a certain point there's just a hard stop on how much money you can get, right? Typically, buying power has shrunk a lot in the eyes of mortgage lenders, just because the rate has gone up and your payment is going to be more. So people are right now very profoundly aware of their buying power having shrunk quite dramatically recently. And so I find that when people can buy a house, if someone's budget for a house is, let's say, $400,000, in general, they won't look at houses listed over $400,000. They'll stretch maybe 415, 425 feels like, ah man, is it even worth seeing? Because if it's gonna sell for 425, 35, 20, we're just not buying it, right? The money's not there. We don't have the down payment. We can't get the mortgage. It's just, that's the top of the budget. And so whereas folks used to really be able to overlist and people would stretch or come in and negotiate and think, well, I'll dig up the money somehow, or maybe they'll come down. Buyers are really not in that mood to take a flyer and spend their time on listings that are listed over their budget. So there is a lot of wisdom in I think listing competitively. I know that this house got offers go quite a ways well over asking. Cool unit, cool look, like the building. Cool, single fams. You know, you're always gonna be able to buy your $250,000 single family house. There's gonna be a slew of them. Here we go. Some smaller multi-families or a little bit less less good condition. This is a full-on gut renovation. This one, I don't know if there's good pictures of this on the inside. No, they're foregoing. Oh, here we go. Yeah. It's just studs. Really cool house. Really neat inside. But a full-on fixer. Single fam. And then this is the bottom of the barrel. 22 Hasbrook Street, $100,000 with one picture. I love it. When you have that, you know, like, we're only really going to show you just the one crooked picture of the front. You know that there's actually a lot to see inside. There's a lot of things that you'd probably like to see before buying it. But listen, I'm not criticizing the listing agent. I totally get it. Anybody working in Newburgh has definitely been in the position of having to make that call. Like, what will I take a picture of here? I'm not sure. So that's an interesting side of the market update. You know, we can go back here and look at active stuff real quick. If I'm not, you know, like super out of time, but a lot of this stuff is the same. Oh, look, we're back up to two pages of listings. I knew it was coming, right? It's like, I do in general have a sense that sellers are shaking loose. They're understanding that people do want to buy. And I in my own real estate practice, see more listings coming around the bend. I also know that there are people out there who want to make deals. There's a lot of people sniffing for deals. I'm friendly with a bunch of wholesaler guys, which are people who find deals and then sort of shop the contracts around to people who might want to buy them. They don't intend to buy them themselves. And a lot of them are good guys who are just really in the trenches helping people in tough situations. And they will, bring me, ask me questions. Sarah, what's this worth? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. It takes 30 seconds of my time and I'm happy to help, whoever pretty much in real estate. And there's a lot of deals trading that way as well, which is interesting. So everyone is shaking loose a little bit, right? Our lowest price listing is 60 Hasbrook. There's just a lot of small little wood frame houses on Hasbrook. It's not a bad block necessarily, and I think it can be like super cute as those houses, are in, a lot of them are vacant, are renovated and tidied up a little bit. As always, there's a clump in the low to mid 200s of single families mostly, but a smattering of multifamilies. A lot of the houses here are the same that we've been seeing for a while, waiting for some of these things to go into contract. This one has been on and off for a while, bless them, if they get that number. So anyways, that's Sarah with the market update for Reattached, coming straight out of a food poisoning last couple of days and trying to deliver as much value under the circumstances as possible. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.